Welcome to AI People Podcasts. Today, we're digging into something huge. How is generative AI actually changing how we work? I mean, right now.
Yeah, the speed is kind of wild. Nearly 40% of Americans already using it for work or home.
It's faster than the PC, faster than the early internet. It's not just a tech trend. It feels like a real economic shift happening.
Absolutely. And that's why this paper we're looking at today is so timely. It's from Microsoft Research called Working with AI, Measuring the Occupational Implications of Generative AI.
What's great is the data source. They analyzed 200,000 real anonymized conversations with Microsoft Bing Copilot, so actual usage data.
Exactly, not just theory. And they make this really crucial distinction up front between what the user is trying to do their goal and what the AI is actually doing its action.
Okay, and the big takeaways, what did they find people are using it for?
Mostly information gathering and writing. That's where users are turning to it.
And the AI's role in that?
It's acting mainly as an information provider, an assistant, sometimes a writer, a teacher, or even an advisor.
Got it. And then they calculated these AI applicability scores. Which jobs are most affected?
It leans heavily towards knowledge work, computer and math fields, office and admin support, and maybe a bit surprisingly, sales roles pop up really high, probably because of all the communication involved.
Right, but key point, this is observed usage, not like predicting job losses or anything like that.
Precisely, it's about what's happening now.
Okay, so let's unpack this. We want to see which activities are being reshaped, which jobs feel the impact most, and what it means for all of us, whether we're building this stuff or using it every day.
Sounds good.
So first off, that data set, 200,000 conversations from Bing Copilot users in the US over 9 months in 2024. How did they break that down?
Right, so they had two main chunks. One was Copilot Uniform, 100K chats meant to be representative of general use.
Okay.
And the other was Copilot Thumbs, another 100K, but specifically ones where users gave feedback thumbs up or thumbs down.
Useful for measuring success later, I bet.
Exactly. And to make sense of all the different kinds of work people do, they use the ONet database as a backbone.
Right, the Department of Labor system breaks jobs down into activities.
Yeah. They focused on what ONet calls intermediate work activities, or IWAs. Things like program computer systems or analyze market conditions. There are 332 of those they looked at. It gives a common language.
And this is where we get to that really interesting part you mentioned, separating the user goal from the AI action. Why is that separation so important?
It's absolutely key because it tells you about the nature of the interaction. Think about it like this. Maybe my goal as a user is to, say, operate office equipment. But the AI's action might be training others on how to use equipment, see? I want to do something the AI is teaching or guiding. They're related, sure, but they're distinct actions.
Okay, so it helps figure out if the AI is just helping me do my task, or if it's actually doing the task, or maybe a related task itself.
Precisely. Is it augmentation or is it performance? That distinction is fundamental to understanding the real impact.
Makes total sense. Okay, and building on that, they created this AI applicability score. You mentioned it wasn't just about if AI was used, but how effectively. How did they calculate that?
Right. It's a composite score based on three things for each occupation's activities. First, frequency. Is the activity happening often enough with Copilot? They set a threshold like 0.05% of activity share.
So not just a one-off use.
Exactly. Then, success. How well did it go? They used that thumbs up down data you mentioned, plus an LLM they trained to classify if the task seemed complete.
Okay, frequency and success. What's the third?
Scope. This one's interesting, it asks. How much of the entire work involved in that activity does the AI seem capable of handling or assisting with? They rated this on a scale: minimal, limited, moderate, significant, complete.
Gotcha. So frequency, success, and scope. And what's the big takeaway from combining these?
Well, the crucial thing is that this score is designed for relative comparisons. It tells you which occupations are more impacted relative to others based on current usage.
Not like X% of this job will be automated.
Exactly. They specifically warn against that, because if you try to set absolute thresholds for impact, like say AI affects 50% of tasks, you can get widely different numbers, from nearly zero to almost the whole workforce just by tweaking that threshold. It's misleading.
Right, so this score gives a much more grounded relative picture of where AI is making inroads now.
Precisely. It's about the who more than the how much.
Okay, solid methodology. Let's dive into the findings then. Starting broad with those generalized work activities, the GWAs, where did Copilot usage really stand out?
Yeah, at that big picture level, it's overwhelmingly knowledge work. Activities like getting information, interpreting information, thinking creatively, updating and using knowledge, and working with computers.
No big surprises there, I guess. That fits what we think LLMs are good at.
Totally aligns. Processing information, generating text, that kind of thing.
So what about the other side? Where is AI, or at least this generative AI chatbot, not really showing up?
Well, predictably, it's the physical stuff. Handling and moving objects, for example, or tasks that need direct monitoring of processes, or machines monitoring processes, controlling machines. Things chatbots just aren't built for right now.
Makes sense.
But what's really fascinating, and maybe a little counterintuitive, is looking at the AI's own actions. They often fall into what you might call service roles. Things like assisting and caring for others, providing consultation and advice, coaching, training. The AI is often playing the sort of calm, helpful guide role.
Interesting. So the human user goals are focused on the core knowledge work, getting info, analyzing, creating.
Right.
And the AI is often acting in a supportive, almost advisory capacity to help execute that work.
That's a great way to put it. Now, if we zoom into the more granular level, the intermediate work activities, the IWAs, what were the top user goals?
Yeah, what specifically are people asking for help with?
Okay, so top user goals really cluster around, again, information gathering, gather information from various sources, obtain info about goods or services.
Makes sense. Research.
Yeah. Also big, writing and content creation. Write artistic or commercial material, edit written materials, and then communication tasks like provide information to clients or explain technical details. Basically, the stuff many people reach for an LLM for first.
Right. And what about the AI side? What are the most common AI actions at that IW level?
Well, the AI is often doing similar things like gather information, prepare informational materials, explain technical details, respond to customer problems.
There's quite a bit of overlap then.
You'd think so, right?
Yeah.
But here's a really surprising finding. In 40% of the conversations, the set of user goal IWAs and AI action IWAs were completely different. No overlap at all.
Wow, 40%, that's high.
It is, and get this, in 96% of conversations, there were more unique activities on each side, user goal side and AI action side, than activities they had in common.
Okay, that really underscores the idea that they're not just mirroring each other. They're often playing distinct roles.
Exactly. It highlights this collaborative, often complementary workflow that's emerging. The human and AI are doing different but related parts of the overall task.
The paper highlights some extreme differences too, right? Where AI is much more likely to assist versus perform.
Yeah, absolutely. So AI is way more likely to assist when the user's goal involves physical stuff. Like the user wants to purchase goods or operate office equipment. The AI gives advice, instructions, strategy.
But it doesn't click the buy button or run the copier.
Right. It assists the human doing the physical part. But conversely, the AI is much more likely to perform the action itself when it comes to things like training, coaching, teaching, advising.
Ah, so like train others on operational procedures or teach academic subjects?
Exactly, those kinds of things. In those cases, the AI steps directly into that role. It is the trainer or the advisor in that moment, not just helping the human do it.
That's a really clear distinction. Okay, so moving beyond what they're doing, what about effectiveness? How happy were people with Copilot's help?
Generally pretty positive. For the common activities, the IWAs, they saw 50% or higher positive feedback, thumbs up.
And where did it really perform well, according to users?
The highest satisfaction was definitely in writing and editing text, researching info like research healthcare issues or research laws, and also things like evaluating or purchasing goods. That's where users felt it was most helpful.
Okay, the core strengths. And where did satisfaction dip?
Lower satisfaction came in areas like data analysis, process digital or online data, analyze business data, and also visual design, like create visual designs. These seem to be areas where current models maybe don't quite meet user expectations, especially for technical tasks.
That makes sense. There was also that interesting nuance about AI providing direct support, right?
Oh yeah, that was fascinating. When the AI itself tried to directly provide support or encouragement to others or advise others on products, users were actually less satisfied than when the AI was just helping the user do those things.
So people prefer it as a tool to enhance their empathy or advisory skills, rather than as a direct replacement for that human touch.
It certainly suggests that. Maybe we want AI as a really smart assistant or knowledge base for those human-centric tasks, not necessarily the one delivering the empathy itself.
And they validated the satisfaction data too.
They did. They used an LLM classifier to measure task completion rates independently and found it strongly correlated with the user feedback. The weighted R value was over 0.75, which is a pretty strong validation.
Okay, good. So let's talk about the scope of impact. How much of an entire activity can AI actually help with?
Right. So scope measures how much of the whole task the AI demonstrates it can assist with or perform. High scope areas were, again, things like gather information, writing, providing information, advising, explaining.
The usual suspects.
Pretty much. The AI's capabilities seem to cover a significant chunk of those activities. Low scope areas, again, data analysis, visual design, and also IWAs that involve complex interactions with other people, like confer with clients or investigate individuals.
And there was a key finding about scope when assisting versus performing, wasn't there?
Yes, this was important. The AI consistently showed a lower impact scope when it was performing an action directly compared to when it was assisting a user's goal.
Meaning?
Meaning it can effectively help users with a broader slice of their work when it's augmenting them, rather than trying to do the whole task autonomously.
That feels like a really crucial insight for how we should think about deploying AI. It's maybe more powerful as a broad assistant than a narrow specialist performer right now.
It could be. And related to that, another aha moment for me was that the scope of impact seemed to be a better predictor of what activities people asked AI for help with than how successful the AI was at completing it.
Wait, really? So people reach for AI more where it could potentially help broadly, even if it's not perfect every time?
That's what the data suggests. It seems users are drawn to areas where the AI has the widest potential application to their task, valuing that broad utility, perhaps even over guaranteed perfect completion of a narrower task. It's about augmentation potential.
Fascinating. Okay, let's connect all this activity analysis to actual jobs. Who's most affected according to that AI applicability score? What patterns jumped out?
All right, looking at table 3 in the paper, the top occupations, it's a clear pattern. Interpreters and translators are right at the very top. An incredible 98% of their typical work activities showed up as frequent Copilot tasks.
Wow, 98%. Okay. Who else?
Writers and authors, sales reps for services, customer service reps, CNC tool programmers, interesting one, and technical writers.
So a mix of pure knowledge work, communication-heavy roles, and even some technical programming interface work.
Exactly. And even some roles you might not immediately expect, like passenger attendants or hostesses, scored pretty high. Figure 5 shows this is mainly driven by AI being good at providing information to guests, clients, or customers, which is a big part of those jobs.
Right, the information providing aspect. And the least impacted jobs, down at the bottom of the list.
No surprises there, really. It's overwhelmingly jobs needing physical interaction, manual labor, or operating heavy machinery. Think nursing assistants, massage therapists, dishwashers, roofers, various machine operators.
Again, important caveat. This is just about LLM impact, not robotics or other AI.
Absolutely critical point. The study is focused on the impact of these large language models.
Okay, so if we zoom out again to the major occupational groups, like in Table 5, where's the highest applicability overall?
At that broad group level, sales and related, computer and mathematical, and office and administrative support come out on top. And significantly, these are also huge employment categories.
So the impact is potentially very widespread.
Potentially, yes. Also scoring relatively high are groups with lots of communication, like community and social service and educational instruction.
And you mentioned that asymmetry again, where some jobs are more suited for AI assistance versus AI performance.
Yeah, Table A3 digs into that. You see jobs like cooks or animal breeders, lots of physical work where AI has high potential to assist, give recipes, advice, but low potential to perform.
Right.
And then you see the opposite for roles like training managers, coaches, HR specialists, where the AI has high potential to actually perform the advising or training role itself.
It's interesting how this real-world usage data compares to earlier predictions about AI's labor impact. How well do they align?
Actually, remarkably well.
No.
They compared their findings to that well-known E1 exposure metric from the Alondu et al. OpenAI paper.
Right, a big theoretical study.
And they found a strong correlation, an arbal value of 1.73 at the detailed occupation level, and an even stronger arbal in 0.91 at the broad group level. That's quite high.
So the theories are largely playing out in practice, at least based on this Copilot data.
It really suggests they are. The
Yeah.
predictions seem pretty well calibrated with current reality. The small differences are interesting too, though.
Like what?
Well, this study maybe suggests market research analysts and those CNC tool programmers might be more impacted than predicted, while maybe some jobs heavy on just providing information, like school bus monitors, might have been a bit overestimated by the AI's current skills in earlier models.
Okay, let's talk socioeconomic factors.
Yeah.
This is the big question for many. How does this AI applicability relate to wages and education levels?
This was one of the more surprising findings, I think. There's a surprisingly weak positive correlation between AI applicability and how much a job pays. The employment-weighted R was only 0.07.
Wow, 0.07. That's barely correlated at all, so it's not just hitting the highest paid jobs.
Not necessarily, no. A big reason is that some very large but often lower to mid-wage occupation groups like sales and office admin have very high AI applicability scores. So it's hitting broadly, not just at the top.
The count of some narratives, perhaps. What about education?
There's a slightly stronger link there. Occupations that typically require a bachelor's degree do show somewhat higher AI applicability on average compared to those needing less education, but it's still wide range. There's significant impact across many education levels.
Okay, so wrapping this up, this deep dive into actual Bing Copilot use gives us a really valuable, concrete picture of where generative AI fits into work today.
Yeah, it strongly confirms that current capabilities really align best with knowledge work and communication tasks. Gathering info, writing, advising, explaining, that's the sweet spot right now.
It's a powerful tool for those things, with measurable success.
Definitely. But we should also touch on the limitations, of course.
Always important.
Right. I mean, this is just one specific LLM, Copilot. Its user base might be different from, say, Claude users who apparently do more programming.
Good point. And it's a snapshot in time. Things change fast.
Exactly. And the ONet database itself isn't perfect, and separating work from personal use in chat logs is always tricky.
Sure, all valid caveats. But even with those, the findings are compelling. Which leads to the final thought for our listeners, especially the technical folks tuning in.
Yeah, it really makes you think. As these AI tools keep getting better, and we get smarter about using them, how is your role going to change? Or the roles of people you work with?
Will we see totally new jobs pop up, these sort of human-AI hybrid roles? Or will existing jobs just sort of absorb AI, redefine their core tasks around it?
It's a big question. How can you best use these tools to enhance what you do, maybe in ways that aren't immediately obvious, something to definitely mull over?